Mr. Gatsby, I'd like to know.
Exactly who are you, anyhow? Can't you see who this guy is? With his house, his parties, his fancy clothes. We were born different from you.
It's in our blood. Nothing that you do or dream up can ever change that.
Recording.
Oh, okay.
And that was a clip from Baz Luhrmann's The Great Gatsby, going to be released, when is it? May 10th. And this is Movies, the podcast. My name's Rob.
This is Jordan.
This is Curtis.
This is Brenda.
We're welcome back. Oh, wait, where's Dan? Dan hasn't said anything.
This is Dan.
Oh, there he is. He was so generous to give his mic up today, so he might not talk as often as he did last week.
This is Dan again.
I'm using Dan's mic.
Welcome back, Curtis, from Paris.
Thank
How was
you. It was wonderful.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. I actually went to the movies twice while I was on vacation.
Oh, that's right. You watched Two Mothers and Passions, right?
I did. They have different titles. In France, it's Perfect Mothers, which is strange. And then the Brian De Palma movie Passion. So
The standards for motherhood are different in France.
Isn't it weird? I know. It's Two Mothers in Australia and America and Perfect Mothers in France. So I have no clue. It was great, though. But
It's like America and Australia. Like, we don't want to judge these mothers. You judge them for yourself.
I wonder if that's what it is. I wonder if that's why they changed the title.
Well, you had posted the trailer, and it's with Naomi Watts and
Robin Wright.
And when you saw the film, it was not what the trailer was implying.
No, and I don't know if I should tell people what the difference is.
No, don't.
Okay, because that's what made it so surprising, and I think what I liked and was surprised about it. It's not what you're thinking. So I wonder what the American trailer is going to be like.
How much did you love Passions? I mean, you love Brian De Palma.
I love Brian De Palma, and let me tell you, this movie was a piece. It was it was no redeeming qualities whatsoever.
You know, it's a remake, right?
It's a remake, and the original is so good. It's a tight, like, French crime sexual thriller, which Brian De Palma could do in his sleep, and he totally screws it up. He's got two terrible lead actresses, Rachel McAdams and Noomi Rapace, and it falls so flat on its face. They keep trying to
make Noomi Rapace happen.
Don't make Noomi Rapace happen. I made fun of her 2 weeks ago on one of the podcasts for her terrible accent, and she continues with that accent.
She's the European Anne Hathaway.
She had nothing to do in Sherlock Holmes' Game of Shadows. Nothing. Drink. She's like, I'll just be back here.
She should have done that in this film.
I couldn't figure out from the trailer what it was about.
Oh, Pat, did you watch it?
The trailer for Passion. Yeah, and I was like, what the hell was that?
Jordan, watch the original. It's on Netflix streaming. It's called Love Crime. Have you seen it?
No, I've heard of it, but and you're right. There are two really good actresses in the original one.
Oh, yes. It's terrible. I'm going to have you guys watch it so you can see how terrible it is.
Last night we were talking about it, and he told me that... What's that director? Quentin Tarantino. You were telling me how he had that, when directors out of their prime, that it's hard for them to get an erection, or what were you trying to tell me?
Quentin Tarantino said, for directors, after a while, you can tell they can't get it up. So, like, how Clint Eastwood's movies, although they're very great, as he's gotten older, they're like slow,
flaccid,
and slower and slower and flaccid. And don't get me wrong, he still does good movies, but they're just like, oh my god, it's like he can't get it up. And Quentin Tarantino said at some point, you should stop making movies because you can't get a hard on. And I think Brian De Palma
has reached that point.
Yeah, I think that I told
that point.
I told you that, like, I don't know, like in the aughts or whatever, in the 2000s, ever since 2000. I don't think Brian De Palma's made something I like.
I told Rob last night he hasn't written his own movie since Femme Fatale. And I liked Femme Fatale.
Well, Femme Fatale is one of those that I'm talking about.
Listen, sister. I'm wondering if he doesn't write it, like he's not as invested, or he's just doing it to get off the couch, or I don't know. Because I love Brian De Palma.
And I know, like, mentioning that, like, Akira Kurosawa, I think, made movies until his 80s, and I think he did a good job, but, he was way past his... Yeah,
well, like Martin Scorsese, he keeps it up. Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, Woody Allen's still doing movies, so...
Well, I think we're officially playing the catch-up game now, so...
Or we've caught up.
Well, no. We just lead it right into that. I was just trying to welcome you back.
We slid right in.
Anything else fun in Paris that was movie related? You didn't make it to that theater you were telling about. That
I did, but in France they don't dub, which I love. Because in America we like to dub our foreign films. They don't dub it; they subtitle it in French. So I wanted to see the new Almodovar movie, which is funny, but it was in Spanish, subtitled French. So I didn't think I would understand what was going on. So I didn't go see it. But I went by the
transcendent experience.
Well, I told Rob they have this theater that was transplanted from Japan to France at the turn of the century, and it's still a running movie theater. And I went into the gardens, but that was the only movie they were playing, so I couldn't see it.
Aww.
I probably should have just sat there and just laughed.
Yeah, I totally would have. Just so like when you rewatch it, you're like, oh, now it makes so much sense.
An hour and a half later. What did I watch? I'm like on my translator phone the whole time, like, what is happening?
That's what I felt during Sapphires last night. Hour and a half in. What am I watching?
Do you need a translator?
You needed an hour and a half to figure out what you were watching.
I knew I wasn't into it 5 minutes in. That was a crap movie.
Rotten Tomatoes let me down there.
Every review says it's a labor of love. Who loved it?
Last night I was trying to dissect why I didn't like it, and I'm okay with silly movies, obviously.
But it wasn't silly.
And I could see maybe the direction they were trying to go. Like I was thinking of Calendar Girls with Helen Mirren and Julie Walter, and it's a silly premise, and it's lots of sight gags, and it's kind of that ensemble piece, and then but it's done really well, and it's really heartwarming. It's really well done, and it's sad and it's funny. But then Sapphires just missed the mark. They could have taken that in a couple of different directions. The other thing, I'm very bothered by people that make light in movies but don't do it well of really tragic events. If you're going to make a lighthearted movie about something tragic, you have to almost do it well.
It's like if you're going to do Vietnam, do Good Morning Vietnam, don't do the Sapphires.
Exactly. Good Morning Vietnam is a comedy. It's about Vietnam, but it doesn't disrespect that experience, and I felt this really disrespected.
It felt like
the experience of the Lost Generation.
The trailer, the feature itself, like it tried to convey a lot of heart, but it didn't have any heart.
No.
And the relationship between the lead actress and Chris O'Dowd, I bought that, but I didn't really care much for anything else going on.
No. John McCain and Sarah Palin had better chemistry.
What? Conservative audience.
A little shout out to conservative middle America. Those of you listening in flyover states.
We are a flyover state.
Did you just make an 8-year-old joke?
Not.
Yeah, I know. How long ago was
Dan,
that?
are you commenting on my outdated references to pop culture?
But you know what's funny about it?
Kidding,
We're not talking about Snooki again.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
If you see who wrote the movie, at the end they explained that it was the son of one of the characters. You can see why it was kind of homogenized, because the character that was his mother was like the prudish one. Like the rest of them were sleeping around doing drugs, and she was like, "Oh no, I just want to sing and do well for my son." And I'm like, "Oh Jesus," that was my Aboriginal accent, by the way.
Oh Jesus.
Oh geez, I don't know.
Well, the other thing too, it was kind of like
Scarlett O'Hara.
Curtis brings up a good point, because it is almost like those happy slaves in movie. It's like,
Or
these
the-
were the happy.
No.
Explain that, please.
No,
No,
I
no,
will
no.
agree with I'll agree with Jordan on that, because there's a character, and I won't say the name because it's kind of offensive. You know what I'm talking about? Where they put somebody in a movie like Mammy or like that kind of thing that was like, "Oh no, it's okay. We have to live on a concentration camp. It's fine. We're
Yeah,
going
they
to
were
be
the
singers."
The happiest people forced to live on a reservation in Western Australia, and I just think it did
Since
such an
Southern decadence.
injustice to a group of people, and a really horrific.
And that's an
part of
interesting
human
story
history.
too.
And there are other movies. I mean, Rabbit Proof Fence is a really great movie about the Lost Generation, and Baz Luhrmann references it in Australia, which is a shite movie.
I love Australia.
Overall, but I thought, he really handled that part of Australian history really well.
Well, I think
And I just
even
think-
though Dan and Brenda haven't seen it, I think
Don't go.
all of us together would agree.
Well, you
we
actually,
do not recommend
you
this.
guys saved me from watching it today.
Good.
My dad was playing hooky from work today, and we went to Sundance. And I actually,
What if your dad's coworkers listen to this?
Did you just sell out your
he's
dad?
he's got vacation days. Like he took a vacation day. He earned it.
HR. Don't say your last name.
Not like Jordan getting rear-ended to get out of that paper.
I thought we weren't going there.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it clean.
Oh yes.
Anywho, I had high hopes for the Sapphires. It looked super cute in the trailer.
Why did you have high hopes? I told Rob I do not want to see this, and Rob said you can leave after 30 minutes.
Which
But
is
you
interesting.
stayed.
Which is interesting because the text I got said we can't see 42 because Curtis really wants to see Sapphires.
No, it was Curtis and Dane.
Okay, nothing that has to do with movies, but anyway. So we go to Sundance today, and I had wanted to see the Sapphires, but because you guys told me or mentioned it was such crap, I looked into the other movies that were showing, and I saw this movie called Reality, an Italian movie. I looked at the trailer, and it looked really interesting, and I went and saw it, and I loved it.
It's the trailer implies that's a really dark movie.
Yeah, it's kind of I would totally categorize it as a dark comedy, and it's totally like a commentary on pop culture and things like that. And I think the director did a really good job of it.
Well, too bad it didn't make any money. We
were 2 of 4 people in the theater.
I'd never heard of it until you guys just mentioned it.
It's from the director of Gomorrah, and it's a film about this guy who wants to audition for Big Brother, and then he doesn't get in. And the trailer, like if you watch the trailer, the tone that it's trying to set is like it wants to go dark, but it doesn't. And so it was an intriguing trailer, but nobody came out to see it.
My dad, being from working class South America, found a lot of similarities, and he made a good point that it's not a part of Italy that you see often in, kind of like touristy, and trying to gather tourists, or most of the movies that we get over here. But because usually when they talk about northern Italy, it's how much better it is than South Italy. It was kind of like a working class neighborhood in Naples, and I think the director he did a good job with his comments.
Well, the Oscilloscope, the distributor, had high hopes for that film, but I think on a national level it just tanked. Anybody else watch anything?
I saw Room 237, the Stanley Kubrick documentary.
God, I wanted to
missed
see
it.
it.
I know.
Talk about disappointment. I was so angry. I paused it twice to ask myself, what the hell am I watching? I paid $6 to watch it.
So you're saying that movie didn't really mean that there is actually a Minotaur coming to take us all away?
No.
Is that what I meant?
That's one of the theories. The theories are so crackpot. And these are not, it's not an interesting, it failed on many levels. It's not a good documentary. It's badly edited.
That's
the
what I figured.
sound
It
quality
cheap.
is bad. It's just cheaply done. And the people they've got interviewed, it's not film critics. It's not people who study film. And I am way into reading about movies and the stories behind them and why certain directors make certain choices. And I love that stuff. And it was really something I really wanted to see. It failed across the board.
It came off less like a documentary and more like a YouTube video you watch at 3 o'clock in the morning when you drank too much beer and you really want to know how ghosts and UFOs connect.
Exactly.
That's where they came off.
I was
That's what
expecting that guy
Jordan,
from the
yeah.
History Channel with the big hair that's like, alien.
Yes!
I really wanted, he would have saved the day. It really reminded me, I was telling my friend about it, and it reminded me of AM Coast to Coast, George Norrie, that call-in radio show on AM radio where people call in and talk about what happened to them at Stonehenge in the 70s. So.
Oh, that's strange. See, the whole thing, you can actually hear that. The thing is, I really, really wanted to see that, and now I'm sad because I can't go see it.
I'm surprised because the MFA doesn't choose their films lightly. Whatever they book, they're very conscientious of what gets played and the image of their.
They wanted people. They need some money too, and they wanted people to see
they
it.
do just fine.
I think there was a lot of hype behind it too, and they were showing it in tangent with The Shining.
Yes.
It made you guys rewatch it, and it made me want to rewatch The Shining, and now you went to go see the documentary, and you're like, what was this bullshit?
I got to say, one of the only theories that actually kind of was intriguing about the whole thing, again, I could be way off base on this one, was the fake window.
That was actually interesting.
That was amazing.
I enjoyed that.
What was that one?
And because in the manager's office, there's the impossible window. And this happens a lot in movies. It happens a lot on TV, but in movie sets, sometimes there's, especially something big and complicated like the hotel, that there are hallways that can't possibly, if you see the outside of the hotel, then the inside, that there's 3 windows in that room, but when you see it from the outside, there's only 2.
Physically, it wouldn't work.
And that's kind of that surreal. That's the only theory I think that really held.
But that's
because
one thing's an exterior set and one thing's an interior set, right?
Well, no, it's kind of that play with what Kubrick does in his movies and what he did in this movie, which was to kind of keep the audience very unsettled. A lot of the shots are really designed to creep you out on kind of a subconscious level. Like that opening scene, that flyover scene, is really ominous, but you don't really know why. And there's a lot of scenes where you really don't know why it's creeping you out, and that's part of the beauty of The Shining, is that it really just kind of reaches in and takes a hold of you, and you're just watching a kid ride on a big wheel, and it's freaking you out, and you don't know why. The other theories are complete crap.
Well, unfortunately, we're 2 for 2. No recommendations here. Sapphires and Room 237.
I totally recommend Reality.
Yeah.
I saw Chernobyl Diaries.
We
are 3 for 3 on the recommendations.
I saw a movie called Price Check with Parker Posey,
I wanted to see that.
where she plays a corporate executive for a pricing and marketing grocery store, or like she does the pricing and marketing for grocery stores. So like the first hour was humming along, and it was interesting like how grocery stores decide to price things and sign things. And I love Parker Posey when she plays serious, because you still love her no matter how crazy she is, because she's so likable. But then the movie got really dark in the last 30 minutes, like really dark.
Like You're the Dog.
Like darker than that. It got so dark. So then I was like, oh, it kind of ruined the whole thing. It could have been. And why are all corporate women sad? Like any corporate woman in a film.
We'll bring someone on to talk and speak for them.
Yeah, like any corporate woman.
Like,
in
why
a
are you
movie
so depressed?
Ends up being a sad character. Like why
Tina
can't?
Fey and Baby Mama.
Well, yeah, like why can't you just want to work? But no, they had to make her character like an alcoholic. They had to make her. She fucked everybody she could. I mean, it was just like, God. I'm not judging.
I really relate to this character. I want to be a businesswoman.
You could make it.
In the right outfit, you can.
But then she wanted to have a baby, and
So, do you recommend the movie?
I do, but it's a good.
With a qualifier.
It's a good Netflix. Like, hey, let's just watch this movie. But it wasn't bad. It just it went off the rails a little bit.
So the theme of the week is disappointing movie experiences.
Well, I'm going to change that theme, because the 2 films that I saw...
And flaccid directors.
And flaccid directors.
I'm picturing all these old directors like Ron Howard and Martin Scorsese like in a Viagra commercial.
When was
like
the
having
last
a garage band.
Viagra
When was the
circle
last
jerk?
good Ron Howard movie? But anyways.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's in the Viagra garage band. Like slow motion.
I watched Natural Selection.
I love that one.
I did too.
I enjoyed it. Have you seen Natural
You
Selection?
met the director, right?
Yeah.
It's a small little story. The lead actress is most famously known as the girlfriend from, is it Hangover 2? No, Hangover, the first Hangover, where Stu,
I'll show you.
the bitch of a girlfriend.
Right.
All the women in those movies are bitches
Rachel
or whores.
what's her
Rachel
name?
Harris.
Rachel Harris. I like her.
Her in this little
So much
film,
I remember her name.
In this film, she plays a woman who is barren. She's married to this husband who follows the Bible religiously, and he feels that you should only have sex for procreation, and because she can't procreate, they don't have sex, and she obviously has her own needs. And he ends up in a hospital, and he through that incident, she finds out that he fathered another son. And he says...
Through a sperm bank.
And he asked, can you go find my son for me? So it's this journey for herself to go find the son, but also kind of discover who she is outside of this relationship, outside of this man. A very sweet film.
Very.
Yeah, I highly recommend that one. And I finally saw Sense and Sensibility for the first time.
I'm so excited.
19 years late.
It only came out in 1996.
It's an amazing film.
It's
It's
very
a
good.
beautiful film. I was just telling Curtis on the way here, though, I felt like I had seen it, but it could be that period films kind of all look the same to me. They all blend in.
And
Racist.
also that Downton Abbey, like
Ruined
there's been a lot of those period British films where you've and Emma Thompson's in all of them.
Yes.
Every
Thank
single
God.
one of them.
Remains of the Day, Howard's End.
Exactly. Did you watch the behind the scenes? On
This
the
DVD didn't have a behind the scenes. All it had was that clip that I posted, her acceptance speech, a la
Oh,
Jane
she gave
Austen.
it. Yeah.
Oh, it was really cute. And the only interesting thing on the behind the scenes for Sense and Sensibility is that village at the very beginning where they stop, and it's in the movie for about 46 seconds. They spent millions of dollars and weeks building that village. It wasn't like an existing set. Ang Lee had that completely built top to bottom. It's in the movie for less than a minute.
Oh, well, Curtis was telling me that it's Ang Lee's first. Well, it isn't his first English language film, but he had that language barrier where you have a predominantly English cast, and so it was interesting to watch the film from that perspective. That if you're making this film, but you have a hard time communicating to your cast, that I felt that watching it, he was more conveying themes and what needed to happen. Like, you know, you have these characters. Your purpose in this film is to be the gossip woman, and I need you to seek this out.
Don't you think all his movies are a theme? Like, he's always going for some theme. Like, don't get me wrong, he gets great performances, but I think he's always going for this overreaching. Like, you think the Ice Storm, he's going for something. He's trying to reach something, but I don't know. Maybe that's why his films feel so distant.
Distance as in the
emotional distance.
Oh, okay.
And there is a coldness in Sense and Sensibility a little bit. And
that's what might make it one of the better ones.
Definitely, and I think, and there are some amazing performances in it. I think Kate Winslet does a really great job.
Yeah, it's lighter comparatively to Howard's End. Howard's End is just a sucker punch of a film. That's just, but I loved it. I highly recommend Natural Selection, and for those of you who've never seen Sense and Sensibility, finally getting around to watching it. Anybody else have anything? TV shows.
There's a lot of good TV back. Mad Men is back. Game of Thrones is back. Veep is back.
All I did was watch Hannibal and
Veep is back.
Bates
Veep
Motel
started on Sunday. Yeah,
it didn't record. Damn it. I just got into this new show called Supernatural.
Jesus!
Apparently, it's on its 7th season.
Yeah.
It's still going.
Yeah. Speaking of being late to the game, I just got onto Scandal. I watched like the 7 episodes, or all 7 episodes from season 1, like in one night.
You're not 7 years late like I am.
I am not watching any TV
I watched
show.
a movie from 1977 last night, which I was disappointed by.
Oh, is that the one you were telling me about?
Julia.
Yeah.
It's Jane Fonda.
I love Julia.
Redgrave. I was a little disappointed by it. And only because I know the story behind.
Hang on, our producer.
The story's not true.
No, the story's not true, and that it's
come to find out. Yeah.
Right, but we found that out much later than the movie was made. But the story with the Vanessa Redgrave and her, the 77 Oscars were picketed by Jewish
Zionist
groups because she called them Zionist thugs in her acceptance speech, and then Patty Chayefsky. Was it?
He said this is not the place to air your.
Vanessa winning an Oscar is not a momentous historical moment. She could have just said thank you or something, and it was a really so I knew about that, and so I was really excited to see the movie, and it's a good movie, and Jane Fonda I think really brings
even Meryl Streep in her little part was so good.
Very first movie,
yeah,
and she plays a gossipy whore
with that dark black hair.
She looks amazing.
Yeah.
Well, the next one that I'm going to watch.
I'm so glad you watched that though.
I really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed that movie.
What is it? Taming of the Shrew with Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. So I'm really excited about watching
amazing.
that.
Oh, I saw that in high school. I liked it.
I've never seen it.
Those two have some chemistry.
Any other catch-up? Other catch-up, guys? Before we get into our main topic of summer releases.
I just want to talk a little bit more about Chernobyl Diaries. No, it was.
Can we go one podcast where our catch-up isn't only about horror movies?
What? We watch. Oh.
Julia's not a horror
You're not going to like my picks for summer releases.
Yeah, it's horrific.
No, that's fine. But normally our catch-up is only horror movies.
We like horror movies.
Speak for yourself.
From 1993.
Candyman?
I kept thinking on our Facebook page it talks about us being outdated. And I think it's so mean, but it's not. It's true.
What is it? Mark Hamill? Or who did you reference the other day?
That's why Curtis has Sharon Stone's hairdo from Basic
Yeah, we referenced like Jessica Tandy in one
Sharon
podcast.
Well,
you're not wearing underwear right now, are you? Cross your legs, Curtis.
It's too humid.
You're winking at me.
It's too humid.
Today's our topic today. We're going to be covering summer releases.
We have a topic today. I totally forgot.
Stay on topic.
Sorry, Rob. Roger Ebert died, and we all went to shit.
I was so sad.
I think we had lost that. We had gone to shit before he died.
Oh
wait, what were you guys talking about last night? That Sapphires.
No. Sapphires killed Roger Ebert.
Sapphires was one of the last movies he reviewed.
Rob, what are we talking about today on the podcast?
Rob, stay on track.
We went to a very dark place.
Our topic today is summer releases. There's a lot of stuff that's coming out over the next 3 months that we're excited about.
We're all going to.
I gotta say this really quick. We talked about before we started the show about trying to stay on topic this time. This has been the most erratic cast we've done yet.
We've only been talking for 5 minutes.
I will say that.
Are
Curtis's
you still
idea.
Is this like French time or dog ears time?
Curtis suggested we smoke meth before the podcast.
I have never suggested it.
He picked it up in France.
That's why you got through customs
they're
so
all
quickly?
doing it.
Oh, you're white. You can get through.
Whoa, Rob.
He said that.
Not on air.
I'm just digging my hole here.
Speaking of your hole, for those of you in the flyover street. Rob, what are we talking about on today's podcast?
Rob, let's talk about it.
God, Rob, you're so off topic.
Rob, can we get a pitch hitter? Because we obviously have a catcher.
Let's break it up into two categories, and we're going to talk about these summer releases. Please, let's get as much distance from those comments as possible.
That's your fault.
Can we insert a little bumper where Dan tells people to go to the restroom or
while he edits
take
that
a
out?
smoke break now for the next 4 minutes?
Technical difficulty.
Let's cover the big mainstream films first.
What are we talking about?
Summer releases.
I'm excited about Man of Steel. That's my.
I am excited about Man
I'm
of
such
Steel.
a little kid when it comes to like superhero movies, even when they disappoint me. But Man of Steel and the new Star Trek.
So you're a
the
big
two.
fan of Mystery Men?
I hated Mystery Men.
I love Mystery Men.
You would. And
A lot of people do. I don't think it's that funny.
I don't like it, and I'm talking about like the Avengers. I was disappointed by.
The Avengers was disappointing.
Captain America was disappointing.
I've never seen Captain America.
Do you guys like any superhero movies?
What
love-
superhero movies do you
No,
like?
Dark
If you say
Knight-
Dark Knight Rises, I'm
Dark
gonna kick
Knight
you.
is one of my favorite movies of all time.
It's
Whenever they make a Wonder Woman, we'll dedicate a whole podcast to
Superheroes are
Never.
boys, Brenda. Duh.
that. Butch Boys.
Maybe they'll make a Powerpuff
Are they
Girls movie.
are they tops or bottoms?
I don't like any superhero movies. I won't pretend I do.
all over the place.
What were we talking about? Summer
Is there
movies.
a point where we just hit a button and completely abandon the podcast?
We might have to reset this week, guys.
No.
No, we're fine. You're excited. So you saw the new trailer for Man of Steel.
Yes.
Curtis and I were talking about last night how hopefully this is that film that Zack Snyder finally is able to match his visuals with emotions and performances, because he hasn't been able to get that yet in any of his features. I really like Dawn of the Dead, but that's because it's zombie and it's an awesome movie.
It's well written too. It's a tight script.
But Watchmen and 300, I respect Watchmen. I can't stand 300.
No, they're just like gay porn.
And Watchmen is emotionally constipated. It's just a really weird film.
And bloated with ideas. Like
it really
it's
is. Kind of like today's podcast.
I dated somebody who made me watch Watchmen Blu-ray, and it's one of those Blu-rays where it'll show a scene and it'll stop, and then it'll explain to you how that scene was made.
Was it like 19 hours
I'm
long?
not kidding you. Yeah, it was nutballs. I was like, I hate this movie and I hate you.
Is that grounds for divorce?
Should be.
Sure was. Oh wait, sorry. What?
We also have. What am I excited about as far as main? Star Trek. I'm really excited about Star Trek.
Yeah,
Did you like the first one?
I love JJ.
I adore the
was
first one.
Amazing.
I actually really enjoy every film that he's made.
Oh my
What
God.
films has he made?
Mission Impossible,
3.
Super 8.
Super 8 was amazing.
Cloverfield?
No. He produced Cloverfield. He didn't direct Cloverfield.
Matt. Well, he didn't.
Matt Reeves directed Cloverfield.
Oh,
Did Matt Reeves do Super 8?
No, that was J.J. Abrams.
Oh, cool.
I liked Super 8. That was an amazing movie. I'm excited about Star Trek for sure.
Definitely
I'm such
Star
a
Trek.
nerd.
I am beyond excited about The Great Gatsby. Like,
yes.
Every trailer they post, it just like wet my
but
pants.
even that, it's like I was telling Rob, there's characters that aren't even in the trailer that are important characters. Like Isla Fisher's character is a really important character in the book. And I recently rewatched the 1970 version, and it's so bland and so vanilla.
Is
and
that the Robert Redford
yes,
version?
and the character, not that I would talk about it Robert Redford, but the characters are just like, they don't come alive. Like in the book, they come alive. And so this movie, I'm excited because it seems like it's gonna pop like with like,
It's a
real
Baz Luhrmann,
actors.
so just that alone, I'm excited about. And then the fact that it's Great Gatsby, and I love the 20s. And I read it in high school. I don't remember. It deserves a rereading. But I've been excited since I heard about it, I think, last summer.
It's a short read, and I honestly, and not many people like all of Baz Luhrmann's movies, but I like every single movie he's done, even Australia. I think
It's my least favorite of his movies, but I still enjoy it. It's still
Yeah.
it's my least favorite of his films, though.
he's bloated, but in the best possible sense.
Oh, people say that about me. I need to cut down on my sodium.
I'm
intake.
excited. I'm very excited. I think it looks great, and I think the actors are well chosen. I'm not sure about Tobey Maguire,
The
but
casting looks really good. And can Leonardo DiCaprio finally get an Oscar?
not for that.
No,
he won't get it for that. I wish.
I
He's
love
so
him
good.
so much.
He's good in everything.
We are a mess tonight.
I don't know what's wrong with us. Hopefully we'll get it
Two
together
in one night.
by the time we get to episode 6.
Are there any little ones you're looking forward to?
Wait, let's stay on topic. The big ones. What else are we looking forward to?
We want to talk about big ones.
Oh,
Curtis.
this is the end.
Oh, that trailer was so funny. This is the end is the one where all the comedians get together. James Franco,
Jay Baruchel,
Michael
Seth
Cera,
Rogen.
Seth Rogen, and they're having a party, and it's the end of the world, and it seems very fun.
Is anyone else looking forward to World War Z?
I am slightly.
I am because I like Mark Forster. I don't think he's going to pull off this big action movie, but I like Mark Forster.
The expectations for it are really high.
It's been pushed back, twice?
But I think it's like they're trying to convince us that we should like it, but it's going to be one of those movies that's probably going to barely break even, and they'll be happy for that.
I'm still looking forward to it.
I
I don't know about Brad Pitt.
It's a graphic novel, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And there's a big fan following.
No,
of
no,
it.
It's actually it's actual a book.
It's an actual book.
book.
It's
Oh, is
not
it
a
a
graphic
novel?
novel.
But there's a big cult following for it, and that's making it really. There's some expectations there.
Oh, yeah.
I was slightly excited for Elysium until I saw the trailer, and it just...
I'm really excited about it.
I really
It does
liked
look like District 9.
I really like District 9, but I was
I
hoping...
liked District 9.
I was hoping this one just has the exact same tone, exact same feeling, and I just... it seems like...
Jodie Foster looks amazing.
Because she looks like a lesbian.
She looks fabulous. I think Tabitha Coffey got a hold of her.
If anybody's wondering who that is...
Those of you in Iowa can Google Tabitha Coffey. She's a lesbian from Australia.
Oh, is she gay?
Yeah.
she finally came
I
out.
don't watch that show.
I don't think she was ever in the closet. She just, was like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm gay.
Is she the one with the salon makeover?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the worst Australian accent I have ever heard.
You could be in Sapphires too.
Don't treat me different because I'm Aborigine. That was closer. That was closer.
We have a new film this year for... I would consider this a big release because it is going to be a wide release. It's The World's End. It's Edgar Wright's new film.
I'm
With,
so excited about that.
Simon
sounds
Pegg
fun.
and Nick
Yeah.
Frost. But they haven't posted a trailer for it, so I'm just
I love
anxious
Simon
about that one.
Pegg.
It's the third in the trilogy.
Yeah.
It's
What
like
trilogy?
unofficial trilogy, the Cornetto, where Shaun of the Dead was supposed to be the first one, Hot Fuzz was the second, and third is The World's End.
I love Hot Fuzz.
What is people's heart on with trilogies? Why do you have to make everything into a trilogy?
Well, it's just an idea.
It's a natural order of the universe. That's
There's
why
threes.
religions usually include things in threes,
Do they?
like the Trinity.
Oh my God, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah,
Stop getting so deep right now.
we're taking it really deep.
Iron
can
Man
make-
3.
Speaking of things I'm not looking forward to,
Shane Black. Are you not excited?
I'm not excited about Iron
Did you,
Man
did
3.
you didn't like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang?
Yeah.
That's,
No one's excited
Is it the
about
same
any Iron
writer
Man.
director.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe
No,
I'll
Get-
see it.
get
no.
together.
Let's not compare the two. No.
Maybe I'll run out and see it then.
What was wrong with the first one?
What was wrong with the first two?
I just didn't.
The
get
second
into-
one was okay.
I didn't get into it.
You
I'm
call
not
yourself
that-
a fanboy. You're not a fanboy
I
at
never
all.
used that word ever.
So Jordan, you must be really excited about Fast and Furious 6 then.
I'm going to camp out and watch it. I don't know. White House Down, G.I. Joe was such an emotional high for me this spring that
Has G.I. Joe come out?
Wait, I don't.
Yeah,
who knows?
it did.
Oh my God.
G.I.
know
Joe
I'm-
Retaliation.
Right.
Your favorite director has a movie this summer too.
I know.
Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, Jesus.
Pacific Rim.
What looks interesting about that?
It has big monsters and robots.
I'm still upset about Battleship.
Dan, please back me up on this one.
That hurt.
I just don't like Guillermo del Toro.
You're dead to me.
I
Curtis.
know. I just don't think he's done anything good.
It's like he's got Dan's nuts in a vice grip.
I do.
For those of you in Iowa, Del Toro, if you're Googling it, is 2 words.
If you don't speak Spanish.
Ask your maid.
Moving on to this.
Brenda.
This is going to be the episode that's going to get us kicked off.
The lost episode.
Do you know how much work I'm gonna have to put into this?
Let's move
It's
on
gonna end up a 5-minute episode.
Yeah.
to the small films that we're looking forward to. Anybody?
Surprise, surprise. Well,
That's a good one. Generation That I don't know.
For those of you who can't see, I am currently giving the finger to Rob. Surprise, surprise. The big films I'm excited about are horror films.
What good horror films are there this summer?
Smurfs 2.
That's the one.
Well, has anybody seen the trailer for The Conjuring?
Yes. He's kind of played out.
Patrick Wilson?
No, well, yes.
Did you like any movies this year?
No, I want to see it, but like they did. He did Insidious. He's done.
Oh, James Wan.
Yeah, I feel like he's done a lot of the same.
Dan, if this is the bar he compares everything to Zero Dark 30. If it isn't Zero Dark 30, it doesn't hold his interest.
Like this movie didn't have enough Jessica Chastain.
Which is true.
It doesn't.
It's true.
Didn't have it.
Well, there's Kiss of the Damned, there's Sightseers, there's American Mary. I mean, these are all horror films just released in May, and they all seem really interesting. The one that
Purge.
Some kid at work was telling me about that movie. It sounds completely interesting. Purge. Have you seen the trailer?
Yes, I'm drawing a blank now as to what
It's the one where the unemployment's like down to 1%, and
with Ethan Hawke. Yes,
12 hours a year, everything is legal and you can do whatever you want. Yes. And so this family decides, okay, we're just going to barricade ourselves in the house for these 12 hours and then we'll make it through. Well, as that's happening, a man is running down the street saying, help me, help me, help me.
And a kid does a stupid
thing.
And
the kid lets him in the house. And that's kind of sets up the story.
Does Ethan Hawke turn any lights on in this movie?
Probably not.
No, actually, all the lights are in the all the lights in the house are on at the same time. It's just they have that barricade, and his kid decides to open it
and let this man in.
Well, I'll let you enjoy those horror movies. I'm excited for The English Teacher, which is a little comedy with Julianne Moore and Greg Kinnear.
I will say that Greg Kinnear, I'm a little over him playing the reluctant romantic lead.
He has another movie that does the exact same thing in this one.
I mean, it's like really the only thing.
What's it called? Trapped in Love or something like that?
I mean, he's bordering on like
Stuck in Love with Jennifer Connelly
making like 10 beach blanket bingo movies in a summer.
Is anyone else excited about Before Midnight?
No,
I haven't seen either of the first ones.
Really? You guys haven't seen Before Sunrise or Before Sunset?
I've seen both.
Excited about this one.
I've seen both of those and I like them, but I'm just wondering what else can they add to it. You know,
I don't know. I mean, that's why I'm curious. I'm curious to see what they would come up with.
The Kings of Summer, that coming of age film, that was a sweet film or trailer. I'm also looking forward to.
The East is something I'm looking forward to, and maybe just the political overtones. I don't know. The trailer seems interesting, and I'm intrigued by it. And
I think so too.
And I think maybe just that subject matter is interesting to me in general, and so
like you're interested in joining
an anarchist.
Oh, for those of you that are listening, we are going to post links to most of these, or at least a website where you can search for them, just so you don't feel like, well, what are they talking about? They never really explain anything. That's mostly.
I'm super excited, and there's no trailer, no synopsis. All you have is a cast list and a couple of pictures. But for Woody Allen's new movie, Blue Jasmine,
yeah. It's
got Alec Baldwin and Kate Blanchett and Sally Hawkins and Andrew Dice Clay.
Oh,
and the Louis C.K.'s in it. So it has an interesting cast. Why does that change it?
We're fans of Louis C.K.
I know that changes it all of a sudden.
Did you want us to awe about Andrew Dice Clay?
I was waiting for Kate Blanchett.
You're like, I haven't seen a trailer, but I already don't recommend it.
But I'm excited.
I saw one production still.
I'm excited for any Woody Allen movie. So until I see it.
I feel the same way about, I know like she's sometimes maybe hit or miss, but I love Sofia Coppola, so I'm really excited about The Bling Ring.
Me too. I don't think she's that hit or miss. So I think she's only made one miss, and that's Somewhere.
And it's also called Marie Antoinette.
But I don't think that was a miss.
No, neither do I. I think it was what it was. I mean, if you take it what it was for,
Virgin
then,
Suicides, Lost in Translation, Marie Antoinette.
Oh, it's what it is. It's, you know.
No, but if you watch the movie in the context of what she's trying to do, it's this lonely girl who, if you watch the movie, she doesn't make decisions for herself. Her life is planned out for her. She has no room to move around the cabin. And so what does she do? She spends money, eats food, and wears clothes.
If
I mean, she's 14.
that was a story, though, if that was a story of Marie Antoinette, then why bog it down with miscasting all these different characters?
No, that's the fun of the casting, is casting strange
fun
people.
About a Sofia Coppola movie.
Oh, I think so.
Negative fun.
I enjoyed Virgin Suicide because I felt from beginning to end was a strong film.
I was
it might have been
excited because
depressing.
people were going to kill themselves.
But I thought it was a strong film. But
what about Lost in Translation? Nobody's talking about that. Are you serious?
I don't like Lost in
I
Translation.
adore it. I adore it.
Well, there's also the new Almodovar films, if we haven't talked about him enough in the last couple of podcasts.
Who's that? I wasn't here.
Oh, it's that Spanish director. His new film is I'm So Excited.
It's called something different when I was in France.
It's called The Excited Passengers.
Yes.
Right? In the Spanish title.
Which I love that better.
Oh, look at that. Amanda Seyfried's Lovelace comes out.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I recently watched, what was the documentary about Deep Throat?
Inside Deep Throat?
Inside Deep Throat, yeah.
Do you know one of the reviews from Sundance for Lovelace talked about Sharon Stone's performance in Lovelace and said how good it was, which for a Sharon Stone fan is few and far between that we get those reviews. So
Yeah.
Oh, good for her.
take them while we can get them. She plays overweight, and so I feel like that's the stretch.
well, you know what?
It worked in Monster. It worked for
Charlize.
for Charlize.
Oh, Christina Ricci.
She did. She also put on a fat suit for Alpha Dog.
So she's
which
the
didn't work
same
for her.
suit. It's the same suit.
She actually brought it from home.
Can I play
ask,
fat?
Can I ask a question though about the titles to Rob, who runs a movie theater? Why are there different titles in different countries? Because I was watching Alien the other night. It was on like late at night, and in every other country it's called The Seventh Passenger, but it's called Alien in the United States. And it just seems like, and the Almodovar film has a different name overseas.
It's a studio who releases it. How
it just depends.
But some things don't. Some things don't translate. Like they don't translate exactly. And sometimes when you translate something to exact words, it doesn't make sense.
But it's not always the same distributor. Like, I'm so excited to use that one example. In the U.S., it's Sony Pictures Classics is releasing it, and they decided this was going to be called. In internationally, I think it's the sale of the distributor that's releasing it. So it's just a distributor.
Oh, I watched on Criterion. I watched a good little documentary about that. That back in the '60s, they would buy foreign films, and there was one Swedish one called Summer with Monica, and then it was like an art film. But when they took it to America, they changed the name to Monica: Story of a Bad Girl, because there was nudity in it because it was European, and so when it came to America, they played it up like it was this big sex movie, and so yeah, that was kind of cool.
I think I don't know too much about it. It's called In a World, but it's directed by Lake Bell, and it's supposedly a disaster movie, but a comedy. I'm excited about that.
Is that a play on the trailer?
I know that's when
In a World. Yeah, exactly.
Well, we haven't talked about the new Sarah Polley movie. I'm a fan of Sarah Polley, and this is a documentary about
her.
That trailer's a knock to the jaw.
What is it about again? The documentary is about her family, of how her father discovering who his real mother is?
No, it's she sort of started making a documentary about the stories we tell about our lives and what the stories were told from our parents. And so she started really talking to her dad. Her mother's passed away. She started talking to her dad about the past and started talking to her mom's friends. And this is all revealed in the trailer, but come to find out the mom was having an affair around the time that she was pregnant with Sarah. So she starts to find out, like, oh my God, is this my father? Is this? And the end of the trailer is her asking the man that could be her father, what was your relationship with my mother? And so it's this documentary that turns into kind of a thriller, and it's by Sarah Polley. And I've loved all of her movies, so I'm very, very excited.
I actually, one of my favorite films with her, it's not directed by her, but it's Hal Hartley, No Such Thing.
Julie Christie's in that. The
monster. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. I'm not a hugest fan of Hal Hartley. He did Henry Fool. Then he did the sequel like 15 years later with Parker Posey's character who played the wife called, what was the name of the sequel?
I'll have to think about it.
I think it's supposed to be her name, but I forget what
her name.
Too Fast, Too Furious.
John Singleton directed it.
Too Parker, Too Posey.
Oh my God, that's a new hashtag. Too Parker, too Posey. Did Sarah Polley do Away from Her?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And she saw. am I the only one that saw Take This Waltz?
I saw the epic sex scene.
Oh, I showed you that sex scene. Yeah. No.
You didn't show it to me. I just walked into that auditorium.
It's a good movie, but it's if you hate Michelle Williams, you'll hate her even more at the end of this film.
Yep.
She's such a good actress. You hate her. Like, you have to see it. Stream it.
Did you guys see the trailer for Now You See Me?
We were just talking about this.
Oh my God.
Rob thinks it looks adorable.
It reminds
see
me
that.
of Ocean's 11. It has that kind of slickness to it. I'm really excited about it.
That tech aspect where they actually transport someone to that space, and there's more science than magic to it. And I hope Isla Fisher becomes a thing. Like, we just recently watched Bachelorette, and I loved her in that. I think she was the aside from Kirsten Dunst's character, I thought she was the strongest female character.
She's adorable. Is it Isla or
Isla?
And she's married to Sacha Baron Cohen.
Yeah,
I think she's hilarious. She was on Conan, and she is so funny and so like smart. And that's what Rob and I were talking about. Is like we wish she would happen. And she's in Gatsby. She's in Now You See Me. So maybe she will.
Maybe she'll be the new Buzz
I
coming
don't
up.
know. I feel like it was that time. Remember when they were trying to make everyone the new Julia Roberts or the new Meg Ryan? It was like, oh, Rachel McAdams, the new Meg Ryan, or Kate Hudson, the new Julia Roberts. Yeah, but Isla Fisher just didn't quite get there.
Kate Hudson's the new Julia Roberts.
Do you remember when she did like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days? It was she had one hit and everybody's like, oh, she's it.
I always thought she was the new Goldie Hawn.
She is the new Goldie Hawn. If you follow that career.
Is there anything else on the summer release schedule that you guys are excited about?
I know I was like kind of bad mouthing earlier remakes and sequels, but it goes back into horror. VHS 2.
I've been
And
wanting to see VHS. You recommended that one.
yeah, because I love horror anthologies. Yeah, and it's the second part to it. And then Maniac, I'm interested in because it's a European remake of an American film, and I have to say I've seen a few movies that are European remakes of American films, and they actually end up working out.
With Elijah Wood, Maniac. Yeah, I do want to see that.
Well, before we start wrapping up, I have one last question for all you guys, and what's the last summer release that you that you attended that you felt was an event that you went to and you enjoyed it with the people you went, you waited in line, the audience was just really involved? What's the last film you attended that the environment of being in a movie theater with all these fans complemented what you were watching on screen?
Oh my God, I know the answer to this.
It can't be Basic Instinct. You were too young.
No.
Snuck in.
I saw Basic Instinct 2 in the theater. Anyways, I remember mine, and Rob was there. It was Sex and the City 2. It was the last movie. It was the last time I went to the movies, and I felt like the audience we were so involved. We were so hurt that it was a terrible movie. We were so...
I remember that.
We were like so upset that the movie was bad. Like literally upset.
Weren't you guys... Wasn't that the last film that both of you saw at the Angelica?
Last film. It shut the Angelica down.
It broke the Angelica.
As we're walking out, they're just shutting everything down.
So I do remember.
For me, there's two. I'm going to say X2 as an example. Excuse me, X-Men 2, because I thought it's one of the best comic book films in my opinion. But that audience just went nuts in the right places. They went crazy when the Wolverine showed up, and that opening sequence with Nightcrawler. It just, the energy just made it so much more of an event. And then the last Harry Potter film for me. I don't think that was a summer release. I think that was a November release.
It's a good example.
I know, terrible example. But it's just, I saw it with two of my best friends that we saw all the films together, and it was a great closure to this epic series to watch them with them. So I love it. I no longer like waiting in line for movies. So I just wait till during the week to go watch it. But back in the day, I used to go to those midnight premieres. Now I just can't stay up for that.
There's something to be said for seeing a movie in an empty theater. Like, it's a very intimate experience. I can't think of... I don't know if it was a summer release or not. I know Lord of the Rings was...
No, those were all Novembers.
Those were all November.
Yeah.
That's the one I was thinking of that was just like people cheering and people... Not at The Hobbit. No.
Oh, that was terrible.
No. But people were cheering for different reasons. But then those kind of epic movies like that. I can't. Hunger Games was like that too. I know that came out in March, but
yeah, I guess Hunger Games isn't one of those where there was a lot of appeal and excitement for it, but I guess I was looking for something that was just an event movie that you went out of your way to wait in line for an hour or 2 hours to watch this film. And Lord of the Rings is a good example.
Lord of the Rings, I remember waiting in line for a while. I remember when the first Star Wars, The Phantom Menace came out.
I was about to say.
Once it started, we knew we had wasted our time. But
so you were in line for New Hope?
I think I waited in line for 6 hours or something. I mean, we camped out. It was in College Station, so people were dressed up. My friend was dressed up.
But aside from how terrible the movie was, the experience was a lot of fun.
It was amazing, and it made me miss out because the first Star Wars came out in '77, and I was a huge fan as a child, watching it on TV, and I missed out on getting to see those movies that I really love, like Jaws and E.T. and Star Wars. That I didn't get to see those in the theater when it really was going out to the theater and was an event. Of actually seeing those summer blockbusters like that.
Brenda?
I'm going to have to go with last summer, The Avengers. I think out of the whole summer, that was my favorite film. I had a lot of fun with it, and everybody in the audience had a lot of fun. I think it was a good energy. It was a good crowd. It was a good movie.
Shut it, you two. It was a great movie.
That sounded menacing.
It was okay.
I didn't.
Dan, do you have any movie that you were just
titillated about?
Independence Day was pretty decent.
All right, let's shut this down.
Isn't that
That was a fun one. People booed in Independence Day when they bombed Houston.
They bombed Houston?
And yeah, where they set off the nuclear bomb at the end to try to kill the ship is in Houston. That's the target they choose. So they nuke Houston. And I saw it in Channel View and with my grandmother. And people booed when they did that. And I was like, what's going on? I don't care. It's Pasadena.
Take it out.
Well, I guess we're going to go ahead and wrap up our episode that apparently was all over the place. I think through the magic of editing, Dan will try to make us sound coherent and
plastic surgery of editing.
I promise nothing.
He's going to add some wah-wah-wahs.
Have you guys ever seen The Sopranos when it airs on TBS?
Yes.
Or Sex and the City
it's
when
like
it airs on
14
TBS.
minutes long, nothing happens. It's just a bunch of people sitting quietly in an Italian restaurant.
Well, thank you guys for listening. This is Movies the Podcast. My name's Rob.
I'm Jordan.
This is Curtis.
This is Brenda.
Dan.
Thank you, and enjoy the summer.
And scene.
No, and I don't know if I should tell people what the difference is.
No, don't.
Okay, because that's what made it so surprising, and I think what I liked and was surprised about it, it's not what you're thinking. So I wonder what the American trailer is going to be like.
How much did you love Passions? I mean, you love Brian De Palma.
I love Brian De Palma, and let me tell you, this movie was a piece. It was it was no redeeming qualities whatsoever.
It's a remake, right?
It's a remake, and the original is so good. It's a tight, like, French crime sexual thriller, which Brian De Palma could do in his sleep, and he totally screws it up. He's got two terrible lead actresses, Rachel McAdams and Noomi Rapace, and it falls so flat on its face.
They keep trying to make Noomi Rapace happen.
Don't make Noomi Rapace happen. I made fun of her 2 weeks ago on one of the podcasts for her terrible accent, and she continues with that accent.
She's the European Anne Hathaway.
She had nothing to do in
God.
Sherlock Holmes' Game of Shadows. Nothing. She's like, I'll just be back here.
She should have done that in this
I couldn't figure out
film.
from the trailer what it was about.
Oh, Pat, did you watch it?
The trailer for Passion. Yeah, and I was like, what the hell was that?
Jordan, watch the original. It's on Netflix streaming. It's called Love Crime. Have you seen it?
No, I've heard of it, but and you're right. There are two really good actresses in the original one.
Oh yes, it's terrible. I'm gonna have you guys watch it so you can see how.
Last
terrible
night we were talking about it, and he told me that what's that director? Quentin Tarantino. You were telling me how he had that. You know, when directors out of their prime, that it's hard for them to get an erection, or what were you trying to tell me?
Quentin Tarantino said, for directors, after a while, you can tell they can't get it up. So, like, you know how Clint Eastwood's movies, although they're very great, as he's gotten older, they're like slow,
flaccid,
and slower and slower and flaccid. And don't get me wrong, he still does good movies, but they're just like, oh my god, it's like he can't get it up. And Quentin Tarantino said at some point, you should stop making movies because you can't get a hard on. And I think Brian.
Mr. Gatsby, I'd like to know.
Exactly who are you, anyhow? Can't you see who this guy is? With his house, his parties, and his fancy clothes. We were born different from you.
It's in our blood. Nothing that you do or dream up can ever change that.
Recording.
Oh, okay.
And that was a clip from Baz Luhrmann's The Great Gatsby, going to be released, when is it? May 10th. And this is Movies the Podcast. My name's Rob.
This is Jordan.
This is Curtis.
This is Brenda.
We're welcome back. Oh, wait, where's Dan? Dan hasn't said anything.
This is Dan.
Oh, there he is. He was so generous to give his mic up today, so he might not talk as often as he did last week.
This is Dan again.
I'm using Dan's mic.
Welcome back, Curtis, from Paris.
Thank
How was
you. It was wonderful.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. I actually went to the movies twice while I was on vacation.
Oh, that's right. You watched Two Mothers and Passions, right?
I did. They have different titles in France. It's Perfect Mothers, which is strange, and then the Brian De Palma movie Passion. So
The standards for motherhood are different in France.
Isn't it weird? I know. It's Two Mothers in Australia and America, and Perfect Mothers in France. So I have no clue. It was great though. But
It's like America and Australia. Like, we don't want to judge these mothers. You judge them for yourself.
I wonder if that's what it is. I wonder if that's why they changed the title.
Well, you had posted the trailer, and it's with Naomi Watts and
Robin Wright.
And when you saw the film, it was not what the trailer was implying.
Palma
Has reached that point.
Yeah,
Or
I think that I
couldn't
told
reach that point.
I told you that, like, I don't know, in the aughts or whatever, in the 2000s, ever since 2000, I don't think Brian De Palma's made something I like.
I told Rob last night he hasn't written his own movie since Femme Fatale. And I liked Femme Fatale.
Well, Femme Fatale is one of those that I'm talking about.
Listen, sister. I'm wondering if he doesn't write it, like he's not as invested, or he's just doing it to get off the couch, or I don't know. Because I love Brian De Palma.
And I know, like, mentioning that, like, Akira Kurosawa, I think, made movies until his 80s, and I think he did a good job, but, he was way past his... Yeah,
well, like Martin Scorsese, he keeps it up. Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, Woody Allen's still doing movies, so...
Well, I think we're officially playing the catch-up game now, so...
Or we've caught up.
Well, no. We just lead it right into that. I was just trying to welcome you back.
We
from your
slid
trip.
right in.
Anything else fun in Paris that was movie-related? You didn't make it to that theater you were telling about. That
I did, but in France, they don't dub, which I love. Because in America, we like to dub our foreign films. They don't dub it. They subtitle it in French. So I wanted to see the new Almodovar movie, which is funny. But it was... in Spanish, subtitled French, so I didn't think I would understand what was going on. So I didn't go see it. But I went by the
transcendent experience.
Well, I told Rob they have this theater that was transplanted from Japan to France at the turn of the century, and it's still a running movie theater. And I went into the gardens, but that was the only movie they were playing, so I couldn't see it.
Aww.
I probably should have just sat there and just laughed.
Yeah, I totally would have. Just so, like, when you rewatch it, you're like, oh, now it makes so much sense.
An hour and a half later. What did I watch? I'm like on my translator phone the whole time, like, what is happening?
That's what I felt during Sapphires last night. Hour and a half in, what am I watching?
Do you need a translator?
You needed an hour and a half to figure out what you were watching.
I knew I wasn't into it 5 minutes.
It was kind of homogenized because the character that was his mother was like the prudish one. Like, the rest of them were sleeping around, doing drugs, and she was like, oh, no, I just want to sing and do well for my son. I'm like, oh, Jesus. That was my Aboriginal accent, by the way.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, jeez, I don't know.
Well, the other thing, too, it was kind of like...
Scarlett O'Hara.
Curtis brings up a good point, because it is almost like those happy slaves in movies. It's like,
Or
these were the happiest...
No.
Explain that, please.
No, I will agree with I'll agree with Jordan on that, because there's a character, and I won't say the name because it's kind of offensive. You know what I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. Where they put somebody in a movie like Mammy or like that kind of thing that was like, oh no, it's okay. We have to live on a concentration camp. It's fine. We're going to be singers.
The happiest people forced to live on a reservation in Western Australia, and I just think it did such an injustice to a group of people and a really horrific.
And that's an interesting story
history.
too.
And there are other movies. I mean, Rabbit Proof Fence is a really great movie about the lost generation, and Baz Luhrmann references it in Australia, which is a shite movie.
I love Australia
overall, but I thought, I mean, he really handled that part of Australian history really well.
Well, I think even though Dan and Brenda haven't seen it, I think
don't go.
all of us together would.
Oh, you
we
actually,
do not recommend
you
this.
guys saved me from watching it today.
Good.
My dad was playing hooky from work today, and we went to Sundance. And I actually,
What if your dad's coworkers listen to this?
Did you sell out your
he's
dad?
he's got vacation days. Like he took a vacation day. He earned it.
HR. Don't say your last name.
Not like Jordan getting rear-ended to get out of that paper.
I thought we weren't going there.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it clean.
Oh yes.
Anywho, I had high hopes for the Sapphires. It looked super cute in the trailer.
Why did you have high hopes? I told Rob I do not want to see this, and Rob said you can leave after 30 minutes.
Which
But
is
you
interesting.
stayed.
Which is interesting because the text I got said we can't see 42 because Curtis really. That was
know.
a crap movie.
Rotten Tomatoes let me down there.
Every review says it's a labor of love. I did. Who loved it?
Last night I was trying to dissect why I didn't like it, and I'm okay with silly movies, obviously.
It wasn't silly.
And I could see maybe the direction they were trying to go. Like I was thinking of Calendar Girls with Helen Mirren and Julie Walter, and it's a silly premise, and it's lots of sight gags, and it's, you know, kind of that ensemble piece. And then, but it's done really well, and it's really heartwarming. It's really well done, and it's sad and it's funny. But then Sapphires just missed the mark. They could have taken that in a couple of different directions. The other thing, I'm very bothered by people that make light in movies but don't do it well of really tragic events. If you're going to make a lighthearted movie about something tragic, you have to almost do it well.
It's like if you're going to do Vietnam, do Good Morning Vietnam. Don't do the Sapphires.
Exactly. Good Morning Vietnam is a comedy. It's about Vietnam, but it doesn't disrespect that experience, and I felt this really disrespected.
It felt like
the experience of the Lost Generation.
The trailer, the feature itself, like it tried to convey a lot of heart, but it didn't have any heart.
No.
And you know, the relationship between the lead actress and Chris O'Dowd, I bought that, but I didn't really care much for anything else going on.
No. John McCain and Sarah Palin had better chemistry.
What? Conservative.
A little shout out to conservative middle America. Those of you listening in flyover states.
We are a flyover state.
Did you just make an 8-year-old
No, we're
joke?
not.
Yeah, I know. How long ago was
Dan,
that?
are you commenting on my outdated references to pop culture?
But you know what's funny about it?
We're not talking about Snooki again.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
If you see who wrote the movie, at the end they explained that it was the son of one of the characters. You can see why